In 2014, I got the worst year-end review of my life and was given notice that I was about to be fired from Morgan Stanley. It's going to be a lot different than my usual videos. I don't have an agenda. I don't have notes. I'm just telling you a story that happened to me. The reason why I want to tell this story is because now with the platform I have on LinkedIn, so many people are reaching out and sharing similar stories, and almost all of them end poorly. So hopefully I can shed some light on a better way to approach it. That kind of worked out for me. So 2013, the middle of the year, I started working at Morgan Stanley in the risk IT department. Had no idea what I was doing, which makes sense. And in fact, the MD told me, look, for 2 months, you're just going to be reading technical documentation. You probably won't contribute much to the team. Okay, so half a year, it's my first real job out of college. Obviously, not much is expected of me. My year in review went okay. My bonus was terrible because I was in IT, the usual. Very shortly after 2014 began, if you've ever heard my story, I was moved over to a new team based on some VBA classes I was given. The firm was pretty impressed with the way I handled myself and self-promoted, so they had me join a new team, and it was pretty exciting, but unfortunately, I did not perform well. Like I said, this is like my first job right out of college. I didn't know what to do. My time management, my project management, it was all just straight up awful. The fact that I have ADHD really didn't help because I had to like focus on this project and this project and this project and build that reporting. And whatever looked more exciting for me at the time, I would jump on. It's like, all right, I might have spent 30 days on this, but oh my goodness, that looks like the coolest project in the world. And I'd start working on that. It sounds crazy to you, but to me, that was just the way to operate. The result was my projects just weren't getting completed and the stakeholders were getting frustrated. And I didn't even know this at the time. I wasn't good enough to pick up the cues. And then the year-end review came, 2014. It was awful. It was 2 sides of a page, and it wasn't written by one person. It was contributions from everyone on my team and other teams that interacted with me, and everyone had the same message. And that message was, Mark is funny, entertaining, a great friend. We love having him in the office, but he just not only doesn't accomplish work, he slows down other people's works, and he's a detriment to have around. And that was the message from quite a few people. I feel like almost like brave telling this story on camera because I was terrified for years to speak up about this, but like I was scared I wouldn't get hired, but it was pretty terrifying. So I got that review. Everyone gets the reviews through email or whatever. I got a physical copy, and then within a half an hour of getting it, I was called into the managing director's office. I walked into her office, sat down. It was her and my direct manager, who was an executive director, and she said, "Did you review the paper?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." She said, "Okay, we've discussed it," meaning her and my direct manager, "and we've decided to give you 30 days notice. In 30 days, you will no longer be working with the firm unless you can repair all of this in 30 days. And her advice to me was actually to start looking for another job, probably from experience that people can change in 30 days. I was so shaken up. I've never experienced anything like this in my life. It was really terrifying. I wanted to leave and go home so badly, like right then. I think it was like 2 p.m, but I forced myself to just sit there and feel like I was dying for like 4 hours. I went home, cried to my wife. I had this paper in my knapsack. I kept reading it. I'm like, oh my, I always was such a positive person. I had such energy. I was an elementary school teacher for years, and they always loved me, and the kids loved me, and the staff loved me, and they begged me every year to come back. I did music gigs. People always loved the way I performed. I always got tipped, paid extra. Like everything always went so well for me in my life. And here I was just like shot in the face. It was crazy. The next morning I took the train with my dad. I always did. We went into the city together, and I broke down to him, and I was shaking, and I told him about my performance review and that I was given 30 days. And this was his reaction. We were sitting in the train right next to each other. He looks at me. He smiles, puts his cap over his face, leans back, and closes his eyes. I was like, what are you doing? Like, I need your support. And he put his hands right over here at the back of my neck and gave me 2 pats, and he said, "You'll be fine." I was like, what kind of help is that? But I got his message. I've been around my dad long enough. I understood what he meant. And that "you'll be fine" was, you could look for another job, but you are a person who can repair this. And I think you'll do great and you'll figure it out. So I went back to Morgan Stanley, obviously. I waited for that MD to walk in, did not go to my manager. The minute she walked in the office, I walked into the room. She said, "Yes, what can I do for you?" I said, "I'll be honest. I already reached out to 2 recruiters who have been asking me in the past, to join a hedge fund or whatever. And I'm going to have conversations with them, but I don't want to leave. Look, this is not my dream job. This is an IT back office role, and I really want to work in finance and make a lot of money. But this should be like not necessarily easier, but it's like an entry level, pretty basic job. And if I can't perform here, I'm never going to perform anywhere in my life. I need to get better." And the fact that multiple people said this about me means it's 100% true. And I can't deny any of this. I am super jumpy and unfocused. Yes, all of that. But I am going to firmly commit myself for the next 4 weeks to just getting better and better. I just want to know, and I want to hear from you, if I work on myself and I make improvements. I don't think I'll get 100% of the way there, but if you notice significant improvements from me, will you keep me here? And she said, "I'm not going to tell you at what level, but if you try really hard, I think you're capable of it, and we'll definitely keep you if we see noticeable improvement." And she said, "But don't come to me anymore. I have no interest in having this conversation with you. It's not really my place. You should speak with your direct manager." Okay. I went out of her office. I went to my direct manager. I spoke to him. He's like, "Look, I don't care." He's like, "I love you as a person. You're really fun to be around. The team really appreciates you. But you're really dragging us down. I don't want to hear the stories, and I don't want to hear the emotions. I want to see performance. Show me that you're actually closing out tasks instead of just racking up a bunch of open tickets." I actually heard a comedian on YouTube yesterday. It's reminding me, who's talking about ADD, and he said, people say ADD people are bad at starting things. He's like, it's not true. We're great at it. We start so many different things. We just can never finish anything. And that's the way it was for me. So my manager's like, you just have to start closing out tasks, and we need stakeholders to be happy. And if you can do that, then I'll be happy. Okay, I said, can we meet once a week? Like beginning of the week, let's just sit down and go over my progress, how I've gotten better, worse, whatever. He said, sure, no problem. So I put time in his calendar. And long story short, I fixed it. So what I did was I made an entry in my calendar every morning at 6 a.m. that said to do. I didn't actually look at it at 6 a.m., but it was just like the first thing on my work calendar. And I opened it up, and it would have listed out the stuff that was easiest, the tasks, the projects that were easiest to close out the next day, and the most important. I'd have sorted them. I would never leave the office without having my to-do entry in my Outlook calendar the day before ready. Never. Like, I don't care how late it was. And the next morning, that's the first thing I would open. I also had an Excel sheet which had tasks sorted by priority, importance, due dates, when I expected them to be, like all of my tasks. I know people use Jira for this or whatever, but I had an Excel, and I'd open that sheet every single day. In fact, I never closed it, I think, the entire month. It was just open on my desktop. It would shut down every weekend, but I always had it open. And I would always make sure that my tasks were closed in a reasonable amount of time. It was painful. It was like really painful. Like I'd be working on a project and like, oh, I can't sit on this anymore. It's so boring. And I'd want to go to something else, but I'd open up my Excel sheet or I'd look at my Outlook and I'd be like, I can't wait another day because these stakeholders are going to be frustrated, and I'd force myself to close these things out. At the end of the month, the MD called me in the office. She said, 100%, we see a massive improvement, especially in your attitude. You've gone from somebody who's just coming to work to somebody who's driven to succeed. You need to keep that. If you keep that mentality, you won't just not get fired, but you'll be promoted and moved on to do much bigger and better things. And I'm really excited for you. So that was just like such a weight off my chest. Like I felt so relieved. I told my father, he's like, yeah, that's like what I expected. So it was a crazy, crazy experience for me. And one of the coolest things about working at Morgan Stanley is every year, even after you leave the firm and come back, your year-end reviews stay in the system. So even after I left, came back, went to sales and trading, and I got really good reviews year over year, I always saw that 2014 review, and it reminded me of who I am naturally as somebody who's very jumpy and not focused. And in fact, for like this popular interview question that always goes on, tell me about your weakness. I don't tell the exact story, but I always say, I've always been somebody who's very jumpy, and it's always been hard for me to focus on a single task. And now I combat it by doing this, by using the Excel to do the Outlook to do meeting, by having this Excel sheet. And it hasn't been a problem since. I mean, realistically, it's always a problem, but now I'm just like razor focused on being better and always recognizing that I have this issue. I know a lot of people go through this. It's really emotional. It freaks you out. And your gut reaction when getting such feedback is always, I need to get out of here because I'm going to be fired. And you're right. That is what's going to happen if you have that mentality. But if you change your mentality to, they will let me stay if I put in effort to fix this, and you talk to them about it and you keep an open dialogue and you really put in the effort, you're not just going to fix this job, but you're going to repair yourself and make yourself a much better employee for all the jobs you do in the future. It's terrifying recording something like this, and posting it online is going to be even scarier. But I hope you enjoy the story and you learn something from it. I don't know. I love comments. Please let me know what you think below, if this encouraged you, discouraged you, or whatever, or if you have stories of your own. I'd love to hear them down below. And yeah, have a great day. I'll see you in the next video.